Drake achieves another legal victory as a judge allows access to Kendrick Lamar's redacted contract. If you've been keeping up with the ongoing saga involving Drake, Universal Music Group, and the legal maneuvers in New York, you know this development is significant. It's not merely another headline in their ongoing dispute. It represents a potential turning point that could shape the outcome of the case. For Drake's team, this is a major win. For Kendrick Lamar, whose name is now entangled in this legal situation, it complicates matters. The broader implications for the music industry are also more profound than many might realize. By the way, welcome to Celebrity Hip Hop Showroom, where hip hop and celebrity drama never sleep, so hit that subscribe button so you never miss the mess. Let's get into it. Let's break this down step by step, as what transpired in court may seem like just another procedural decision, but it reveals a lot about how power, contracts, and control operate in hip-hop. Here's what occurred. Drake recently requested the court to allow him to examine documents related to Kendrick Lamar's recording contract, documents that Universal Music Group, UMG, had been tightly guarding. Initially, UMG provided a version of these documents, but it was so heavily redacted that Drake's attorneys deemed it practically unusable. Picture receiving a 22-page contract where most of the text is blacked out, numbers obscured, and details omitted. That was the version presented to Drake's legal team. They contended that UMG's redactions rendered the documents unreadable and meaningless. UMG's defense was straightforward. They aimed to keep the contract confidential for various reasons, with protecting sensitive business information at the forefront. They argued that Kendrick's deal contained private details, figures, terms, and strategies not intended for public disclosure. They filed a motion to keep the contract sealed to safeguard both themselves and their artist. However, a significant change occurred. According to filings in the U.S. District Court for the Southern District of New York, Judge Jeanette Vargas granted Drake's team permission to review an unredacted version of Kendrick Lamar's contract. While she didn't make it public, she did allow Drake's lawyers to examine the full deal without any blacked-out sections or missing information. This ruling may seem straightforward, but it holds considerable significance. For Drake, this isn't just about satisfying curiosity, it's about gaining leverage. In a legal battle, information is crucial, and access to a previously sealed contract could significantly influence how his team formulates its arguments. In their motion, Drake's attorneys made it clear the redacted version was nearly worthless. How can one effectively challenge or defend against a claim when the evidence resembles a crossword puzzle? With this ruling, Drake's team now has a clearer understanding, potentially uncovering terms, clauses, or obligations central to his conflict with UMG. Judge Vargas unequivocally confirmed her decision. In her order, she stated, "Plaintiff and UMG's request to file under seal a contract between UMG Recordings Incorporated and Kendrick Lamar Duckworth, as provided by UMG in a redacted form marked attorney's eyes only, is granted." The term "granted" stood out prominently. It meant that Drake's lawyers would gain access to information that UMG sought to keep concealed. However, there is a caveat. While this ruling benefits Drake, it does not fully open the door for public access. Judge Vargas highlighted that UMG had sufficiently demonstrated that the contract's details were confidential and sensitive business information. Therefore, the public will not have access to it, and it will not be leaked through official channels. The judge elaborated on her reasoning by referencing a principle in American law, the First Amendment presumption of public access. Typically, court documents are accessible to the public. However, in this instance, she determined that the need to protect confidential business information outweighed that presumption. This was a reasonable decision, especially since the discovery process in this lawsuit has already been governed by a protective order, meaning much of the information exchanged would not have been made public anyway. So, what does this imply? Why is this ruling significant? On the surface, it marks a victory for Drake's legal team, providing them with the clarity they sought. But the more pressing question is, what will they discover in that contract? And why is Kendrick Lamar's agreement so crucial in a case that, at least officially, involves only Drake and UMG? Let's take a broader view. Contracts in the music industry are key to understanding power dynamics. They reveal not just an artist's earnings but also ownership rights, distribution control, licensing benefits, master recordings, and decision-making authority in disputes. Kendrick Lamar's contract with UMG, which has been sealed and redacted until now, may offer insights into how UMG negotiates deals with its top artists. For Drake, who has been contesting his own rights and relationship with the label, these insights could uncover inconsistencies, favoritism, or leverage points that could tip the balance in his favor. Picture this: Drake's team reviews a contract and discovers clauses that are drastically different from his own. What if Kendrick, one of the most esteemed rappers today, received terms that Drake was denied or protections that he had to advocate for? This situation goes beyond legal implications. It's a cultural bombshell. It transforms the issue from merely contractual to one of fairness, favoritism in the industry, and whether Drake, despite being one of the most commercially successful rappers ever, has been treated unfairly. Of course, this is all hypothetical. We don't know the specifics of the contract. However, we do know that Drake's legal team sees it as significant enough to contest, and a federal judge concurs. That alone indicates its importance. But let's not jump to conclusions. This isn't a moment of celebration for Drake. While it is a significant step, his lawsuit is far from resolved. Legal proceedings are slow, and even minor victories like this one don't ensure a positive final outcome. What it does signify is that Drake now has more resources at his disposal. He's making gradual progress, piece by piece, in a case that could redefine artist-label dynamics. Then there's Kendrick Lamar. He didn't seek to be involved in this controversy, yet here he is, with his contract at the center of a major legal battle in hip-hop. For Kendrick, the implications are different. His reputation isn't at stake, but his business dealings are. Although the public won't see the contract, the scrutiny it's under highlights the complexity and high stakes of the industry's inner workings. For UMG, the ruling is a setback, but not catastrophic. They have still managed to keep the contract confidential, which was a primary concern for them. They succeeded in safeguarding sensitive business information from leaking outside the courtroom. However, this outcome is not what they had hoped for. Their case for confidentiality was compelling, but ultimately insufficient to prevent Drake's team from gaining insight into the details. And once that veil is lifted, it may expose more than they anticipated. This is what makes the case so intriguing. On one side, it's a technical argument about redactions and confidentiality orders. On the other, it's a narrative about power, who possesses it, who fights for it, and who can leverage it to their benefit. For Drake, every ruling like this transcends legal matters. It's about conveying a message. He's not submitting to UMG, not accepting contracts without question, and not allowing the label to dictate terms without resistance. By pushing back so vigorously, he's establishing himself as someone who not only controls his music but also challenges the system that sought to control him. Fans are paying attention. The hip-hop community is keeping a close eye. Each update, ruling, and filing contributes to the larger story of how artists manage the business aspects of their careers. While we cherish the music, the reality is that courtroom developments often influence what occurs in the studio. The irony is palpable. For years, Drake and Kendrick Lamar have been compared in terms of their music, styles, and impact. Now, their names are associated with a legal dispute that revolves around contracts rather than lyrics or production. One artist is attempting to dismantle the constraints of his label, while the other finds himself entangled in the situation due to his own contract. Ultimately, this ruling may just represent a single chapter in a much larger saga. Drake's battle with UMG is far from over, and the lawsuit has a long way to go. However, this milestone serves as a reminder that perseverance is crucial, that knowledge is power in legal settings, and that even minor details, a redaction here, a clause there, can significantly influence the outcome of a case. So here we are. Drake achieves another legal victory. Kendrick Lamar's contract, previously obscured by redactions, is now fully accessible to Drake's legal team. While the public may not see it, its effects will undoubtedly extend well beyond those confidential documents. In the battle between artists and record labels, each document reveals a narrative. And this narrative? It's just getting started. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this situation, so please share your opinions in the comments. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to stay updated on this story.